Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C Race and Strategy. We're off to Sardegna Road Track A and we are in the Group 3 machinery. Now this is an original combination for Gran Turismo 7. It's not a track we visit very often in Daily Race C. I think we did visit it in Group 4 way back, maybe over a year ago. So fairly fresh combination. 10 laps to get around, we're back to 10 laps folks. Tyre wear at ×6, fuel at ×2. It's a kind of standard settings for Group 3 with the soft and the medium tyres. Both compounds are mandatory, BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, and very importantly, slipstream is on real. I did have a fear we might be seeing that custom slipstream a little bit more, but thankfully they have seen sense. Settings allowed for this one are brake balance and suspension. I think it's the anti-roll bars, the compression, the expansion and the frequency. So let's move on to the race action in this one. Now we've used the Mazda RX Vision. You know the popular Group 3 cars at the moment, the cars that are fast. It's the Genesis X which tends to be the dominant Group 3 car, and I think it's going to be the case for this one as well, going by what I've seen in the races so far. But I think the BMW will be good, I think the GTR will be usable. To be honest with you, I think there'll be a number of cars usable, but I think the Genesis is going to be the fastest out of them all. So one thing I do want to warn you, I've only done 2 races to be fair, but the first lap is pretty chaotic to say the least. The rolling start has everybody pretty close, everybody's on the main straight, so big braking zone into turn 1, so the field does kind of bunch up very early in the race, and towards the back of the field there is a certain amount of jostling going on, so do be careful of that. Just try to be careful, try to not get caught up in anybody else's instance here. You know, we came very close, not really sure what was going on there. We hit the barrier trying to overtake Danny, didn't really want to overtake Danny here. I've got nothing to gain from overtaking a faster driver, so we just kind of left the inside open and let them outbrake us down into the tight left-hander there. Come through the trickiest part of the track, to be honest with you. This left-hander up here, very tricky indeed, very easy to get caught up in an accident or have your own accident. As you can see, the yellow flags are out. We've got a GTR off the track. Terrible rejoin, to be honest with you, straight onto the racing line. Don't do that if you have an accident. But yeah, it's a chaotic first lap, and then obviously the fact you've got the barriers and the walls that kind of make it almost like a street circuit means that you can get caught up in somebody else's accident very easily. Now we're going to come into the pits here at the end of lap 1. We have started on the medium tyres and we're going to move on to the soft tyres, and you're probably going to see an issue straight away because we're pitted at the end of lap 1, because the soft tyres can, as you will see in the not too distant future, the soft tyres can easily do the 9 laps. So, but we'll come into the pits here. Let's get an idea of what this pit loss is going to be. We came into the pits 8 seconds behind Justino up in the lead, and as we get down into the braking zone at turn 1, then you want to be braking just before the 50 metre board, maybe about 60-65 metres into turn 1 here. When you come out of the pits, we are around about 30.5 seconds. So your pit loss is approximately 22.5 seconds, and fuel is going to be no issue whatsoever. Now KBR Ghost up ahead actually must have not realised they started the race on the soft tyres, come into the pits at the end of lap 1, they've put the mediums on and then they've made a mess of it into one of the early corners and have decided to quit. Now I'm showing you just what's happening here as we come down into turn 1 at the end of the start of lap 3, and if you might have noticed, when we made our pit stop, Danny did not make his pit stop, and even on the medium tyres he has that much residual speed over me. He's been able to then use that bit of clear track he got at the time to open a gap, and it's something I'm going to talk about a little bit later on when we look at the strategy. We have a little bit of a ghost fail here, the Ferrari off the track. We probably could have done a little bit more to avoid that, but it's a tight corner. I didn't really have a lot of room to manoeuvre. It's going to give me damage front and rear onto the main straight, which is not ideal when it's going to get passed by a couple of cars. It was just a very, very messy race, this one overall. I was making mistakes, other people were making mistakes. You can see the lap times there. Once we put the soft tyres on, within a 43.0, a 43.8, a 42.9, where our pace was actually in the 40s. We made a nice overtake here on the Audi, who was on the medium tyres, and coming up to the end of the race now, the people who have started on the soft tyres coming into the pits to do their one lap on the mediums. And that puts us up into, of course, P1 for this one. But it was a very messy race, but a very short race as well. 17 minutes, 14 seconds, 0.9. Definitely scope for an additional lap there, maybe even a couple of additional laps. And there's a couple of things to this which is hurting the strategy. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But let's move on to another race. This one we're going to start on the soft tyres. So we're going to try and, start on the soft tyres. Hope the drivers around us pit early on. Hopefully they've all started on the mediums and try and get some clear track that way. But I'd already seen from the warm-up that the German driver in the McLaren, Deutsche Dog, has started on the soft tyres as well. I did also notice they had an A for their SR rating, and I think we're very quickly seeing the reason for that. Then we do make contact with the McLaren there, but it was just a case of an instant unfolding in front of me and having nowhere really to go. Again, the start of these races from the back are very messy indeed, and I'm going to, it's just, you want a bit of excitement on the opening lap, to be fair, with some close racing and try to take some opportunities to make up positions early on in the race. But as I said, with the nature of the track, the big braking zones, the walls, the barriers, keeping everybody sort of funneling everybody into the same part of the track, is very easy to get caught up in somebody else's instance. So yeah, we got lucky, to be perfectly honest with you, on both races that we did, but it's the luck of the draw really. Wrong place, wrong time in a race like this, and you could be the one spinning into the barrier. So we're on the soft tyres here. We've obviously got a little bit of a run on the Hungarian driver here in the GTR, but keeping a nice tight line there. Then Danny goes down the outside again. You can just see the way everything kind of closes up there as drivers go side by side, and it's just the nature of the opening lap in this one. But we're kind of hoping that some of the drivers ahead of us might go into the pits. The Hungarian is going to go into the pits. Unfortunately, the two drivers, one of them being Ali, friend of the channel, also streams on YouTube as well, is in the Peugeot VGT for some reason. With a brave choice of car, I'll give you that, Ali. He has stayed out, and we've also got our German friend who certainly has some questionable driving tactics in the McLaren, also ahead of us. I did know they were on the soft tyres, so not quite working out to try and get some clear track at this point. Again, this German driver just seemed incredibly dodgy, to be honest with you. He puts his hazards on there to say sorry, but he's off ski anyway. Down the outside of Ali here, not really going to go for the move, it's not worth it, just trying to minimise the time loss as much as possible at this point. Going to follow the VGT down this straight here. VGT's got some good straight line speed, particularly on the top end, and the slipstream as well, so not really in a position to go for any kind of overtake. But yeah, we're just, as with any race when you've got a little bit of strategy, and I say a little bit of strategy, it's more like an illusion of strategy in this one, but any race where you've kind of got two compounds of tyres, are always looking to try and find a bit of clear track so you can maximise the pace of the softer compound. And so far we have not managed to get that space, but there's going to be a little bit of an incident just up ahead. We're going to get a little bit of luck here. Unfortunately, Ali's not going to get any luck. It looks like the German, the McLaren, actually moves in the braking zone. He's going to see both of them off the track, and hallelujah for me anyway, we have now got a little bit of clear track to start to try and maximise these soft tyres, and that's pretty much what you're trying to do in this one. It's not easy, it's actually the luck of the draw more than anything else. But yes, you're looking for that clear track to try and maximise your lap times on the softer compound and then make up positions that way. Now, we did catch the gaggle of cars ahead, but some of them pitted. We made a couple of overtakes. We never lost a massive amount of time. I'm going to come in here at the end of lap 9 to make our pit stop. We're going to come out in what looked like a fairly comfortable P4, but I'm so busy looking behind that I actually brake just a little bit late into turn 1 with the cold medium tyres, and what should have been around about a 1 second gap to the French driver Walker behind is now a ½ second gap, and they are also on the soft tyres. For some reason they did 5 laps on the mediums and then pitted onto the soft tyres, so they're on very, very good soft tyres as well. We're struggling to make apexes here on these medium tyres. They're in the Genesis now. They are going to get a little bit of a run down into this corner here, but I'm looking at the braking zone, I'm looking at where they are, I'm going, you're not close enough to go for a move. They poke their nose in and they get an oversteering moment. on the exit. That move was never on. All they had to do was just wait for the straight. The acceleration of the Genesis, they probably had a decent chance of overtaking me down into the next braking zone, but, you know, impatience from the French driver there. And to be honest, the French driver has a little bit of a reputation for not being the smartest driver on the grid. So we do finish that one in P4, which is not a terrible result given we started in, I think, P12 or P13, so we'll definitely take it. We got the clear track was what we needed. So yeah, your strategy options, there is, you know, I guess there's strategy in it, but it's more an illusion of strategy, because there's really only two things you're going to do in this one. You're either going to start in the soft tyres, do 9 laps, pit on lap 9, do the single lap on the medium, or you do 1 lap on the mediums, pit at the end of lap 1, 9 laps on the soft tyres. That is certainly the quickest way to do this one, but try to find that clear track from either of these strategies is almost impossible, because you're going to have at least 5 or 6 drivers doing the same strategy as you, because there is only really 2 ways to do it. So try to find clear track is more luck than anything else. Now, there is maybe certain situations where you maybe do a couple of laps on the medium tyres. For example, at the beginning of race 1, we pitted at the end of lap 1 on the medium tyres. Danny, who's a much faster driver than me, stayed out for 2 laps, and he was then able to get a bit of clear track on the second lap on those medium tyres and actually jump me in the process. So yeah, just being a much faster driver allowed him to do an additional lap on the medium tyres. Alternatively, you could get to maybe lap 7, lap 8 on the soft tyres. You're getting badly held up with maybe a couple of drivers fighting in front of you. Could well be worth just jumping into the pits and sticking the mediums on and hoping you get a little bit of a clear track that way. But, you know, the risk that comes with it is you pit back into traffic, and then the 2 drivers in front of you sort it out, and you don't get the advantage of them not fighting. So there is the scope for maybe something a little bit different to happen. But yeah, there's 3 reasons why there's not really any real strategy in this one. The first is the temperature of the track is very low for this race. I think it's like 10 degrees, so the soft tyres are just going to last about 20% longer, just naturally that way. The second problem is the race is too short. It's only 17 minutes. If it was 11 laps, preferably 12 laps, taking up over, you know, just over 20 minutes, 21 minutes, there'll be much sort of bigger window for strategy. You can maybe kind of just do 8 laps in the soft tyres, 4 laps in the mediums, or 9 laps in the soft tyres, 3 laps in the mediums. The mediums would certainly come into the 4 a little bit more if the race was a little bit longer. The shorter the race is, the harder it is actually to make any kind of strategy work, or kind of give the race any kind of strategy options, if you like. And the third one, and I don't like to bleat on about it too much because you're probably fed up of me talking about it, is this current tyre wear model, with the soft tyres lasting, or the sort of the pace lasting far too long even on worn tyres. Essentially 75%, 80% worn soft tyres are still faster than mediums, means that the harder compounded tyre just does a lip service. It's not really there for any great reason, except to fulfill a mandatory rule. I'll maybe do a video a little bit later on in the week to try and kind of show how strategy has been lost in Gran Turismo compared to Gran Turismo Sport and the early days of Gran Turismo 7, and how races have the illusion of strategy or become very one-dimensional even when there's kind of multiple compounds of tyres in the race. So yeah, look out for that later on in the week. All in all, it's actually quite a good fun race. There's no custom slipstream for me to moan about this week. Do join me for some live streams later on in the week as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.